Tomye, I am shocked.
ALANNIS. What'd you say, sir?
Usually I'll piss you off with some kind of dad joke at this point, but I am shocked.
Please, by all means.
All right. I still see you.
That was last week's, man. You can't repeat.
Oh, but I said I was shook, and now it feels forced. Like,
Fair enough, man. You know?
Well, we're talking about The Last of Us this episode, and the episodes before that. Almost like we're reviewing a season as it goes week by week. Let's chat about that. Welcome to Televerse Reviews. I am your host, ALANNIS MAXIMUS, and my co-hostess with the mostest, TOMYE West.
Howdy.
I appreciate not being mocked this time, you son of a bitch.
Look, Alan,
Really?
you know when I mock you? You know when I mock you? It's because I love you, you know?
Exactly, like the exact
It's a
same
love,
way when
it's a love mock, you know?
Damn straight.
I don't
Exact
mock
same reason
people I
I mock
like. I don't mock people I don't like. I just call them a fucking cunt.
Yeah, a fucking cunt.
Yeah, and there's a difference between a cunt and a fucking cunt. And Alan's a cunt, but he's not a
Yeah.
fucking cunt.
And Tomye is a cunt, but not a fucking cunt.
Exactly. And there's a difference. So we're cunt cunts. We're not fucking cunt cunts. You know what I mean?
We're never going to make it 8 seconds without dropping the C-bomb into an intro to a video ever, are we?
We're never going to get monetized.
But we can put beeps in.
Well, if I'm feeling up to it.
Anywho, we're here to review The Last of Us Episode 5. And as I said at the start of this video, I am shook. And this is big, this episode. There's 2 times in my life when I've watched a movie. Actually, there've only been movies at this point in my adult life. And I turned 40 this year that I've gone, holy fuck, I am shook. And this is the 3rd time. There was Stephen King's The Mist, the movie, not the series. There was Infinity War. And now there is The Last of Us Episode 5. And its end sequence. I'm going to take those. I know I normally lead with asking your thoughts here, but I'm going to throw mine out. And it's very condensed. I'm just going to say, this was the perfect, this could be a standalone, and just its pace, what it did, how it incorporated, I guess, Uber zombies like your clickers and whatever that big thing was.
I believe they have a name, and I can't remember.
Yeah, I've not played The Last of Us as well.
It's like
so,
the clickers have a name, that thing has a name, and I can't. I think it starts with like a B.
And I got that. Like I didn't play I haven't played The Last of Us. I've only watched people play it online. But I played a lot of zombie video games. I played a lot of video games as well, and this depicts what I would want from that perfectly. This is everywhere that things like Resident Evil, like in every horror movie that is based on a video game.
Okay, so that one is called a bloater.
A bloater. Okay, this puts it out there perfectly and does it well, and it, without having to explain it, but just having a vague knowledge of going, all right, I play games where there's super zombies. That is a super zombie. It put it in there perfectly, and it injected it perfectly. And there's been a lot of people talking about this series going, well, that episode 3 was pretty amazing because of all the sentiment. But from the perspective that I want it, and I've talked about it in last episodes, going, I'm here for the pews, the zombies, and the character development of the main characters, Joel and Ellie. This episode, 100% delivered. It gave me development. It gave me more story. It gave me that perfect video game feel in a series where I've gone, holy fucking shit. it's given me that cinematic. We're building this character up as a villain, and now they're gone. But we never intended for them to stay there. But this episode just blew me away. Is all I'm saying. Like the casting, the way it paced, what it set out to do, big scheme. This episode was perfect. This was, you couldn't do it every episode, and I think this makes me appreciate everything before it even more. Even though I can appreciate filler as filler, and I go, next time I rewatch a series, I can go, this episode is that, whatever. This makes up for it. This feels like what The Walking Dead, what they should have done with adapting the comics. Like, they did it well in the first few seasons, but if this is big. The HBO have really outdone themselves here and done what no one else has done at this point. If they can keep this going, then there's something amazing going on here, and I'm speechless of what I've seen. And while I collect my thoughts, I'll have a few more things to say, but I'd like to pass over to the initial thoughts to TOMYE on. So we watched this almost simultaneously, and I called him at the end of it, and I've gone, holy fuck. And he was like, holy fuck.
It was really funny because I was thinking when the big scene happened with the outbreak of all of them running and the fire everywhere and everything going on, and it was hectic with Joel with the sniper and all of that. And what's his name? Now I can't remember the actual Henry. Sorry. I think that this episode was the best one yet. I also think that this made me want to see more of the show. It's the first time I've actually sat back and watched the show and been like, not distracted by Ellie, Bella, what's it, Bella?
Ramsey?
Yep. Wasn't distracted by her. I'm a little upset. I know that's I played the game. I know how the story goes. I know that Henry and all this dies and all that sort of thing, but it's still not as, because I don't remember about that sort of thing. I just remember Henry from the game, and that's it. I don't remember anything that happened with him. It was like, oh, I don't want that character to go. Like, you know what I mean? Because I really enjoyed him and Sam. You know what I mean? I really enjoyed them. It's sort of the dynamic that they had, because I totally forgot about how Henry was in the game. So and Sam, and I totally forgot that Sam was deaf. I don't know if that was still the case in the game, but I'm probably guessing it would be. And because I didn't remember that. So when I first saw them using hand gestures to like turn the torches on and stuff, I thought to myself, oh, that's really cool. Maybe these people, they sat around and tried to work out like a code so they didn't have to talk, use their voices so they could sneak around. But then I realized that he was deaf, and I was like, oh, they're using just normal sign language. I'm like, either way, it's a cool element to add into the plot that I was really enjoying, that like this connection that they had between just using their sort of like expressions in their hands. I really enjoyed that. And then, as you know, I really enjoyed the scene that we were both really enjoyed, which is the huge scene.
The end sequence.
One thing I will say about the end sequence, I don't know if you took much note, but when they first started climbing out of the hole, and it was like spewing out, there was a couple of repeat animations.
I was way too caught up in the excitement of it to notice it.
You got to look at it from my perspective though. That I went to film school. I watch film a lot of the time, and I take notice of what's going on the story. But also, I'm also watching everything pretty like closely to see what it looks like. I'm like, oh, how'd they do the zombie effects? Coming out of the hole, and I realized that there's a lot of like repeats of this one that kept going on it from its hands, hands and knees to up, but they put it on both sides. And just the way they moved, you could tell it was the exact same animation, but just like...
I did watch it on literally this size screen, though.
Oh, fucking hell. What are you doing? What are you doing, man?
I have an autistic 4-year-old that I didn't want to expose to this kind of thing.
I get it. I get that. I totally get that. But look, man, that is like
I am going to rewatch it.
That's the equivalent to watching a cam version of Avatar 2 on a 20-inch fucking television, you know?
Yes and no. Like, I don't know. I think what it had to do, it didn't have to be big and grand. Like,
of course, I'm only mucking around, but I couldn't watch something like a TV show like that unless I was, like, if that was my only option, I was, like, out of the house and, like, had headphones and I was like, I've got to watch it now. I have no other choice. Like, or I was on a train or I was on public transport and I could watch it.
But you wouldn't notice there's annoying faults.
Very true, but I mean, I've got a 27-inch iMac that I use. You know, that's huge for a computer screen, and I had to watch it on that. I can't watch it on a computer screen. You know, like
I am going to rewatch this on my TV, not this TV, but my other TV. This TV is
basically
no flexing, but
basically, I think that this was a really good episode, like the best episode yet. The one that got me into the series. Now I'm excited to see what comes.
And I find that so fucking interesting that we are so on the same page with this episode because we come from such a different approach. Like, I'm the horror fan, you're the guy that played the game, and we are both sitting there going,
you know what I think it is? I think it's that they balanced this episode perfectly. Give everyone what they wanted in some form. So we got more of Ellie and Joel's story. We got more of Henry and that story, which, you know, led to some really heartfelt, sad moments in the show. And then we got the action-paced, heavy, like, horror sort of element with the, you know, all that. And, like, you know, we got the sort of, like, tense moments as well. There was nothing in this episode that you really were like, you know what I mean? Like, my only complaint, my only criticism is that I wish they ended the episode right then and there at the end of that hectic stuff that happened. I didn't like how then it slowed down, but then I appreciate once I moved on from slowing down and Sam turned into a zombie and then all that stuff with Henry happened, that made up for that slowdown. So I would say that was my only criticism, but I kind of had to backtrack on that criticism once that decision was made.
I get what you're saying. Like, that cut was very jarring. I kind of went, that's weird.
Yeah.
But when you saw all that, because I kind of was cutting in between talking to you and going, fuck. Like, as you know, I was a couple of minutes behind you and I was typing and watching and pausing and typing and watching, and because I was blown away. It works well. It was very cinematically, like, that cut to that hectic shit to quiet to then that fallout, and when they're burying the bodies and she's putting down their little, I don't know what you call it. Is the toy? We both had those toys as kids. With the magnetic stuff or some sketch, but it's the same sort of thing. That little toy with the "I'm sorry." That was it was done real well, and I'm curious to. I've heard that this game has I've not seen much of the first game. I've seen more of the second game. But was this a big thing in the first game, like Henry and Sam, or was there more gravity in this episode?
As I said, man, I really wish that I had played this game again before I watched the series, because I can't tell you. I just can't, man. It was so long ago, and I have never replayed the game again.
But would you say if it hit you as hard in the game as hard as watching this in the show, you'd probably be more inclined to remember it?
But the thing is about it, right, is that it's kind of like Breaking Bad, or looking back on something like that. Like, in 10 years to 20 years' time, or 15 years' time, am I going to remember every single death or significant event that happens in Breaking Bad that long later? Because that's how I look at The Last of Us. Like, at the time, yeah, sure, it could have been significant and hit me hard at the time. But I've played many games since then. A lot of time's gone past. Like, things have changed so much that, man, like, a lot of these significant things have happened in games where I've replayed them and gone, holy shit, I did not remember that. You know what I mean? So
that's where I find it so fascinating with Last of Us. So I feel you as a PlayStation gamer with The Last of Us, you're in a minority where you're like, yeah, The Last of Us is all right. Then there's all the other PlayStation gamers I know that are like, The Last of Us, fuck, that's fucking great. That's the best thing. Fuck. I almost feel like we need a third person. If we could do this series over, we need a third person as a guest that does that, here for that. But we don't have that, so we'll disregard that. But it's interesting.
Look, man, I think The Last of Us is fine, but there's parts in Uncharted that I can't remember, like the first Uncharted. There's parts in the second Uncharted I can't remember. The third Uncharted, like every sentimental game in my life, Grand Theft Auto 5, there's parts in it that I wouldn't remember. You know what I mean? Like,
So I'll say here at this point, sorry to cut you off.
No, that's all right.
In the comments, if this hit you that hard, this Henry and Sam in the comments, throw it out there. Because I'll be excited to see that in the game and another perspective on that. Because I'm actually, from a serious point of view, I'm gonna remember this moment. Like this was big. This was a very hard hitting viewing experience. Like, and I may as well say, even though I'm a gamer, as far as The Last of Us goes, I may as well not be, because I've not experienced much of this series at all, apart from.
Let me ask you something. Did you watch Breaking Bad?
Not really.
Okay, well, what's a sentimental show that you watched that was similar to that was probably that long ago? Around that same time, like Mad Men, fucking Boardwalk Empire, like anything. Like,
I mean, if we're going HBO, this hit like HBO hits.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say is that, like, okay, in Breaking Bad, I don't really remember what happened in the last episode, and that's a sentimental episode. I'm sure there's people that remember it like the back of their hand. But for me, things like that usually like go into my like I get affected by it for like, you know, a while, and then it just kind of meshes in with the rest of what's going on with my life, and I totally don't even remember. Like, dude, I can't remember half the shit from yesterday. You know what I mean? So it's kind of just, I think it's just me. My brain is a sieve when it comes to like not everything. Some things stick with me forever, and some like there was a point where I used to be able to watch movies, and after I'd seen the movie once, be able to pretty much line for line say what people were saying in scenes and things. You know what I mean? Like I would have a memory like that. And then as I've gotten older and older and older, and not saying this in a bad way or anything, but on medications and things for my health, mental health, like my brain just isn't what it used to be. So my memory isn't as good as it once was. So for me, The Last of Us, it almost feels like I never played that game in full, but I did. You know what I mean? And I think I even did play it twice. Like I'd have to look at my trophies, but I played it when it came out on PS3, and I think I played the remaster on PS4, but I can't remember if I finished it for the second time. And I did play, as I said, most of The Last of Us Part 2, but I didn't finish it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just because, again, I don't want people going, how can you not like The Last of Us and shit? It's just me. I don't know why. I think it's fine. But I'm an Uncharted guy. I like Naughty Dog doing Uncharted. I like games that have more adventure appeal to them. I'm an Indiana Jones guy, and that's why I love Uncharted. So for me, The Last of Us is a zombie movie, and I'm not a zombie guy. You know what I mean?
I feel like the Last of Us, it's if I was to watch this to be at this point to want to watch a zombie series, I'll be horribly disappointed, and that's why I like it so much, because it's not that, and I think the games are more that than this series is, and I think that's evident in what they did with episode 3, and I think that's why, even though I didn't enjoy the episode, why I respect the episode, even if I scored it early for my enjoyment.
I agree, and
I also think even if you like The Last of Us more, if you liked it as much as Uncharted, I feel at this point there's been a massive impact in a viewing experience for you in this episode. So I think if Henry and Sam are a big thing in the game, it's been done maybe even better in this show and translated to a video game experience when you're watching just as well. And I think this is why this episode is just this series, but most of all, this episode has really encapsulated that.
I think they've done a fantastic job, and I think that there was very little to complain about with this episode. And again, with episode 3, we liked it fine. It was fine. It was just not what we wanted from what we want from this show, and we totally agree with the message that was behind that episode. We totally agree with why they did it. We know exactly what it framed for everybody, kind of thing, and we love the representation in the episode. But the episode to us was just standard television because it's not what we want for our viewing experience. And apart from that, the show has been great. And I'm not saying episode 3 wasn't great. I'm just saying, apart from that, the show has been what I pretty much wanted it to be. But I wanted the show to be like this episode even more. And this is what I've been waiting for. You know what I mean? So
I also like that. See, people is like zombies are very overdone, and I know I can't remember the name of the technical term of these zombies. I know it's not zombies because they're not zombies. The infected. We'll say infected.
Clickers.
Clickers. No, well, the clickers are a type of the fungus.
Yeah. The infected.
It escapes me right now. They are to zombies what the infected are in 28 days later and 28 weeks later are to zombies. They're not true zombies. They're really angry people or people that have got a whole bunch of fungus in them. And I like that. This isn't zombies. And that's what I like so much about it is it's taking it away from that, but keeping it close enough. And that is one thing that my takeaway from it as well, and the back note that is I'm sure they do in the game as well, that I really like. Because
one thing I wanted to ask you was, what do you think? How do you think this episode is going to be taken by the public in general? Because we have not gotten this level of hectic sort of action in the series yet, and I honestly think that some people may have a problem with the bloater and have a problem with that.
I think that they did it, and I know exactly what you're saying there. I think that they did it brief enough that it would not deter. Because it was directly followed up. It was led up with a lot of great character development, building of 3, 4. Actually, no. We've got Henry and Sam. One moment. I'm not gonna call her Rose because I said I wasn't gonna call her Rose, even though I've just called her Rose. Melody Linsky and her second in command. You've got these 4 characters that were built up in one episode where you're going, you're sitting there like with the Walking Dead mentality. You're going to go, these guys are going to be here for the whole season, probably another season after that. They're going to be some big bads. They weren't. And that's what impressed me a bit. But they developed all of these characters to the point they were very interesting. And you saw very little of any of them across these 2 episodes. I think that they're pacing this in that way very well. Like they're giving, for someone that wants drama and for someone that wants horror, they're balancing it very well that you get bits of both worlds. And there's going to be some pits and flaws for whatever your opinion is and what your taste is. But it's going to keep you sucked in. And it's doing that very well. It's catering to both audiences, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Drama and horror, action and horror and drama. 2 or 3 audiences here are going to be watching this,
and
it's balancing it very well.
And I'm happy that we don't have to wait too much longer to get the next episode as well.
And this is hitting strong, and we are getting a little on in the time here. So at this point, do you have much more you have to say about it? Any?
I pretty much stated that. Yeah, I think this is the best episode yet. I really enjoyed it. It's made me want more, and it's what I've been waiting to get me like hooked into the show. Because so far, up until now, I've liked it and enjoyed it so far, but wasn't hooked. And now I'm got my hook. It's hooked into me. So
I think my one last question about it before we go into scoring, and before I say my thoughts on it, I'd like to know yours first. How do you feel about Ellie? Because I know there's been problems.
As I said, first episode, I didn't really take notice of it, and I think she's doing the part justice in her acting. And as I said, she's great as Ellie, but it was just off-putting to me because she doesn't look anything like Ellie in the first few episodes. But like, it's starting to sort of like, I'm starting to notice it less and less. I still notice it, but it's less and less. And I'm sure by the end of this season, it'll just be what it is. You know what I mean? So that's it. Yeah.
To me, at this point, from what I've seen her do, and like most of my experience of Ellie as a character is watching people. I've seen a lot more of episode 2 of The Last of Us in games than the first one, so I haven't seen the earlier stages of Ellie. And I've also not endeavored to play the game whilst watching the series, so I'm going to go back to it and then do that. But at this point, apart from just pure cosmetics aside, I think she's doing as well as she needs to do.
Me too. I gotta say that I think Pedro Pascal is great as Joel, like fucking great.
He hit goals for me from day one.
Yeah.
And at that point, though, and here comes the drum roll, and we're actually, first we're going to talk about our scores for this episode. But where would you put this?
This is the best episode yet. I'm giving this a 49 out of 50.
There we go. And I'm also going to match you on that. And I'm going to say 49 out of 50. So I know I didn't mention it at the start, but where we go with the scoring system, it's on a rank of 100. Me and Tomye both go from 0 to 50. Unless we really hate it, then for me, it's a Morbius. For Tomye, it's a Halloween Ends. And then we combine our score out of 100. So we're going with 98.
98.
Very big score. And we're going to bring it up right now, the scoreboard. You can see where it's sitting. It is sitting directly at the top, where it should be. I'm not going to even talk about the other scores of this episode, because you can see them. And I feel the proof is in the pudding here.
Definitely check this episode out if you're watching it and you haven't checked it out yet. If you haven't checked the series out, I'd say watch the first 4 episodes just to get to this one. You know what I mean? So definitely check it out.
Yes. But I don't know. I also feel that I appreciate episode 3 a little bit more as the journey goes along.
Me too.
Like, if I was to watch it if I was to binge it, I'll probably have a little less about episode 3. And that's the only way I can put it. Because it was filler to me.
Yeah.
But it was only one. And the series so far has consistently delivered. There was one filler episode, but then they got down to the nitty-gritty. And our best 2 episodes have been the ones after that. It went really good. Okay. Meh. Better.
Let's just keep it going. I hope it keeps going on that trajectory.
Damn straight. And there you have it. Us in a nutshell and our opinions of this show.
Look at me. I'm in a nutshell.
A glass box of emotion.
With dudes just coming on the glass box.
And whilst I shoot my child.
Oh no! Why is it jizz on this glass box? Look, we had to have one jizz comment in this episode.
But that's okay. Because I'm Batman.
That's Spider-Man, but you know.
Wrong prop. But anywho, we do other stuff as well, and we fuck around just as much. And we're dedicating a series to fuckery. Our fuckery. Like
yeah, we've got a new podcast coming. It's called Work It Out, where we just talk about topics that we bring to the table and I'm sure those conversations will lead on to others and lead on to others, and we're just going to release episodes that we talk shit. We also got Ranked and Reviewed Goes to Hell coming.
And if this is the first time you've watched us, I feel this is probably one of our most not derailed episodes.
Definitely. This is our most serious episode we've ever done.
Well, there you go. So there's a bright surprise of fuckery. Watch our other videos. Then come back and watch our episodes dedicated to fuckery. And we're going to have some whiz-bang reviews coming. Ranked and Reviewed Goes to Hell.
What else have we got? We got Pop Vultures. We got Nerdy by Nature. And I have just finished the voiceover / script / work for the first episode of Really Real Retrospectives. And it is on the first Scream movie. I've changed my mind. I'll be doing the first Scream movie, releasing that as soon as possible. If it does well, I will continue to do the other Scream movies. But I'm going to see the audience reception first from the first one, and we will go from there. So that's already, like, now that I've done the script and everything for it, where I'm there ready to just get the footage together, record, and edit, and we're done. So it's coming.
So there's a lot of things we're going to be smashing out. And they're going to be in your retinas and in your cochleas and in the cockles of your heart, if you really like it.
And in your cocks.
And in your cocks, if you have them. Or if you just... No, I'm not going to go there. Your cochleas of your ears.
Yes.
And the subcochal region. Maybe in the kidney. Maybe in the liver. Maybe even in the colon.
And in the cock. And in the cock again.
Yes. But that's why you should do us one big solid. It's a very small thing if you're watching this right now for you, but a massive thing for us. One click, subscribe. Watch us. We'd really like it, but subscribe. That's the one thing you want to do. Means Definitely. A lot.
And even, leave a comment, like, whatever you want to do. Just do one of the above.
Yeah. All of them. Regularly.
Exactly. Every day.
Don't make me buy a puppy to hold up.
Even if you like the video, even if you come and like the video, the next day, come back, you can unlike it and then like it again. That would help.
Don't make me stab this puppy with this sword.
We can't see the puppy, but I'm terrified right now.
Yeah. But anyway, people, I've been ALANNIS Maximus. That has been Tommy West.
Howdy.
I've been talking to you, and we'll see you soon.
There's a snake in my boots.
Aye, aye, aye!
Someone's poisoned the water hole.